Germany's North Sea coast, today from Bremerhaven to Hamburg. In the mudflats, a shrimp fisher goes to work, pulled along by sledge dogs. In Stade near Hamburg, sails for boats of all kinds are still handmade. In the medieval town, the old handicraft has been preserved over the centuries. The plantations in the marshlands just outside Hamburg benefit from the fertile soil typical of the coastal climate. One of the most popular apple varieties is produced here. Our journey begins in Bremerhaven. From here we take course over the marshlands to the mouth of the river Elbe. Following the river, the route takes us to Stade and the apple plantations, and finally to Hamburg. On the mouth of the river Weser lies Bremerhaven. The longest container terminal in the world sprawls over 5 kilometers. The container cranes shift 50 million tons of goods every year. Mostly imports from Asia, like toys or entertainment electronics. Day and night, the arriving ships need to be relieved of their freight. Only 300 employees have the license to move the crane. They work under a lot of pressure. Every hour of lay time costs thousands of euros. Janne Jobus has been doing this job for 3 years.
When you're up on the crane, 50 or 60 meters above the ground, for the first time it is a little scary. But I didn't have any problems with that. Far from it, I really liked it. It was a nice view. I really enjoy working here.
Big ships today have a cargo of more than 10,000 containers. To unload them in time, 4 or 5 cranes have to work simultaneously. It's not a comfortable job that Janne is doing here. In fact, she always wanted to become a photographer, but the prospects of living off that were too low. So she fell for this well-paid, permanent position at the terminal.
Usually I start at 6 a.m., get on my crane, put the chair in the right position and start working.
Janne sits in a cockpit with a floor made of glass. The trolley follows the slightest tip of her fingers on the joystick. She needs to have a good sense of the container's proportion. They weigh tons and must be positioned inch perfect.
You have to be able to judge the height from the ground very accurately, and you have to know how to drive out the momentum.
When the container starts to swing, the momentum has to be held immediately before the cargo sways out of control. Up to the year 2000, only men used to operate the cranes. Today, women can also be one of the lads.
I don't see a difference between a man or a woman operating the crane. I think women can do this just as well. I don't think you can see the difference at all.
The use of containers has changed the entire market in the 30 years since they were first introduced. They save loading space, staff, time and money. Shipping a well-filled box from Hong Kong to Europe only costs a few $1,000s. But the pressure on staff to work quickly has grown. Janne has to move at least 40 containers per hour. That makes 1.5 minutes per container. On modern ships, a chute system helps to position the containers.
Smaller ships are more difficult because they don't lock the containers automatically. You have to pile the containers on all 4 corners in exactly the right position. Sometimes it runs like clockwork, sometimes it takes forever.
The wind and rough sea can make matters even more difficult. It can take a while until all 4 corners of the container are safely in their right positions. Jana doesn't want to move containers for the rest of her life. She is saving up for a new future. Where that will be, she does not know yet, because in fact she likes living here on the coast. Our journey continues. Along the coast we fly to the mudflats north of Bremerhaven. Life here is ruled by the flow of the tides. The sea level is determined by the moon. Twice a day, the sea retreats and uncovers the mudflats. Then it is even possible to take a sledge across them.
I grew up here. I used to watch the fishermen go out with their baskets and their dogs. Already as a young boy I used to go with them. I was 8 or 9. I just jumped on the sled and off we went.
Rein im Schlitten und dann mit ab die Post. Hier ab! So schließe ab! Hey, erster! Ab!
Twice a day, Erhard Djuren drives out along the tideways to catch shrimp. His sledge dogs, Beppo, Donna and Lisa, know the way by heart. In the past, dog sledges were widely used for shrimp fishing, but today Erhard Djuren is the only one in the region who still knows how to do it. He bred the dogs himself.
The best sled dogs are a mixture of Labrador and hunting dog. We always say they're tuppence dogs because everyone's put their 2 pennies worth in. The dogs always take the same track. They'd find it even in the dark. I just let them run, and I always arrive safely. Once I pulled the dogs off their track because I thought something was wrong. I thought we'd taken a wrong turn, but you should never do that. The dogs run in their track and the sand is whirled up and water flows into the track. And then the sled can glide.
Dann ist unten ist Wasser in dieser Spur und der Schlitten, der schwimmt.
At an old tideway, Erhard Djuren has set up his weirs. Willow baskets in which the shrimp become entangled when the water flows away.
I'm bound by the rhythm of the tides. I catch the shrimp when the tide goes out. Usually I set off 2 or 3 hours after high tide. The shrimp have to be brought in alive.
Erhard Djuren has to work quickly. The haul decays rapidly if it's not boiled. On every tide, up to 30 kilos of shrimp get caught in the weirs. Erhard makes the baskets in winter, when he doesn't go fishing. Erhard Djuren used to go out on a cutter like everyone else here, but then his health declined. Fishing with weirs was much easier.
I do it out of love for my home and for nature, and quite simply because I like it. You have to be born to do it, though. If not, it won't work.
The region has never been one of rich people. Today, most villagers work in the city, as they can't live off the land anymore. Shrimp, the poor man's food of former times, have become a delicacy.
We eat shrimp every day, and they're very tasty. The ones I boil in fresh water, they taste different to the ones from the shrimp cutter. Mine are sweeter. They taste of pure nature.
Erhard Djuren would like to pass on his knowledge. His greatest wish is to find a successor, so that we're fishing in the mudflats won't die with him. At the mouth of the river Elbe, ships are waiting for high tide, so they can enter the port of Hamburg. The journey takes us to Duhnen, where the river Elbe flows into the North Sea. We make our way to the island of Neuwerk, a small outpost of Hamburg, more than 100 kilometers away from the city itself. The lighthouse of Neuwerk was built around 1300, which makes it one of the oldest on the German North Sea coast. It was built to serve as a lookout and to protect the mouth of the Elbe from pirates. During storm floods, it was a safe shelter for the inhabitants. Time and again, seemingly stranded boats can be found in the Wadden Sea. Some skippers like to have their ships fall dry on the sand to enjoy some relaxing hours in the isolated mudflats. Not far away, the town of Cuxhaven. Here, where the big freight ships enter the mouth of the river Elbe, a horse race is held on the mudflats in July. This year, more than 150 gallopers and trotters fight for a few minutes of fame and fortune. The course takes the riders about 2 kilometers over the seabed during ebb tide. Last year, Ramona Koscher won the women's race. Together with her sorrel Agatonango, she wants to defend the title. She and her horse are a good team, although it took some time for them to become friends.
He has a strong character. The first time I came into the stable, I thought he was simply arrogant. He didn't even look at me. It took me a few years until he said, "Yes, we are a team, and you are my partner."
"1 p.m, low tide. The race management gives the thumbs up. The tides only leave a short window for the race. In 6 hours, the track will be flooded again. Ramona, in her red shirt and black waistcoat, is highly concentrated. There will be a flying start, as there are no boxes here like on a normal racecourse. Ramona is the favourite for the title, but she's only second after the start and has to fight her way to the front if she wants to win the race.
For me, when the race has started, all of a sudden I feel very calm, and all I have to do from up there is guide the way.
The race through the mudflats demands a lot more from humans and animals than a normal race would. Some horses become disoriented and run off into the wrong direction. The splashing mud makes it hard for the riders to see.
The first year I was here, I had mud everywhere. In my mouth, in my eyes. I think 1 week after the race, I still had sand in my ears. If you're not the front horse, all the water and filth from the horse ahead of you keeps squirting right into your face. This is a real motivation to be the first one up. Even if you go second, you're completely dirty.
Schon als Zweiter ist man völlig dreckig.
Ramona's horse catches up after a poor start and passes the other horses. They win again. In the end, the long hours of training paid off.
Das Siegerpaar, da kommt Ackerdenango unter Ramona Crochet, das Siegerehrungsfeld. Applaus und Jubel.
When everybody comes in safe and sound, there's nothing but euphoria at first, of course. All the adrenaline during the race, and then you feel an incredible endorphin rush.
Ramona enjoys every moment of her victory. And her horse gets a trophy too. But it is not until the following day that both horse and rider can enjoy their true reward: quality time and affection. The sorrel's sore muscles need to be taken care of, and he enjoys the grooming. From the Wadden Sea race, we fly towards Hamburg with a short stop in Duhnen. The Elbe. The river originates in the Czech Republic. From there, it makes its way to the North Sea, on a journey of 1,000 kilometers. The last 140 kilometers, it is dependent on the tides of the sea. Here, there are beautiful beaches, most of them untouched, because they are inaccessible. The Elbe is also a weather divide. Often the weather on the southern side is completely different from that in the north. In Drochtesen, on the southern bank, a shipyard produces free-fall lifeboats for big ships. Price per unit, €100,000. Almost all big cargo ships that travel the seven seas carry these orange bullets.
The freefall boat is constructed to save the lives of the crew from a sinking ship and quickly get them out of the danger zone.
Sven van Reit works for the Hattiger shipyard, the world market leader for high-sea lifeboats. Freefall boats were developed after the Second World War, and since then they have saved countless lives. Before their invention, accidents at sea were often fatal. Freefall boats were the start of a new era. A quick release instead of being lowered slowly. No capsizing in rough seas. Though they are light in weight, the freefall boats are very stable. They endure a fall from 50 meters and are virtually unsinkable. Sven van Reit travels to Asia a lot. The best customers of his shipyard are from China, where most container ships are built. Every year, his company sells 400 boats.
This boat can be used at any time, no matter how rough the sea or the wind. We have to ensure that the rescue is possible in any conditions. In wind, storm, hail and snow. It doesn't matter.
Welcome to the training course of our free-fall lifeboat. Now I want to explain you what we have to prepare.
Sven's task is to instruct seamen how to steer the lifeboat in case of an emergency. This week, sailors from Singapore, China and India have come to Duhnen to practice the free-fall.
We have to open the aft platform lashing. Otherwise we cannot launch the boat.
International marine laws decree that the boats must only be used by trained seamen. If a free-fall boat is released too early, it can turn into a lethal trap. Sven is only 24 years old. This makes him the youngest of all here. But he has years of experience on all continents.
So in that case, we can destroy all lifting fittings at the boat, or we would destroy the hanging wires.
Under his watchful eyes, his students rehearse for an emergency. The sailors board the boat through the only entrance in the stern. Up to 51 sailors fit inside. The seats are positioned in opposition to the direction of travel. As the impact on the water is very hard, all passengers have to fasten their seatbelts. They do so with very mixed feelings. The door is sealed up to be watertight, so the boat does not sink when plunging into the water. The coxswain is exposed to the hardest impact of all. Sven has already done 1,000 test drops.
The coxswain unleashes a hydraulic trigger and releases the boat for the free fall.
Sven still remembers his first fall very well.
It was really exciting. I was so nervous. Of course, I was a little bit scared of the height too. But it's a great feeling, like riding a roller coaster. Of course, you feel it most during the free fall, when the boat leaves the platform. You can compare it to slamming on the brakes when driving a car, the force that pushes you forward. Of course, nobody is physically harmed doing this. We guarantee that nothing happens to anyone.
Once in the water, the coxswain continues with engine power. Rescue forces are called by radar positioning and via radio. Even on a burning oil film, survival is guaranteed by a system that generates an extra fine spray mist. Always on board, food, water and medicine for several days. The flying boats are manufactured in different sizes for different types of ships. The production of such a boat takes 600 working hours. The boat's secret is the material. Fiberglass is agglutinated layer by layer with a special two-component resin. Air pockets make the boat unsinkable, making it float like a cork. Even with a leak in the exterior wall, the boat would not sink. Sven van Rijt has been working in the shipyard for 8 years. He started here right after he graduated from secondary school. He loves his job, which has opened the whole world to him. Next week he is off to Korea for an inspection, afterwards to Cape Town for a training session. From the flying boats of Drochtersen, we follow the southern banks of the Elbe to Stade. Stade is considered to be the oldest town in northern Germany. The first settlers came here in 1000 BC. The historic centre of the town is surrounded by a moat. Early Baroque timber-framed houses constitute the centre of the old town. Some of the houses date back to the time of the Swedish occupation in the late 17th century. In the old harbour, a treadwheel crane. In the Middle Ages it was used for moving charges. It was operated only with a brute force of well-paid men. Similar cranes can be found in the UK. To this day, an old nautical craft has survived here. Sailmaking. Annetien Simon has chosen to learn this handicraft. She is trained in planning, sewing and repairing sails. To do so, she needs a lot of space, as some sails have a size of more than 100 square metres.
First, the sails have to be cut from separate panels. They need to have a certain curve so the wind can really catch in them. Then the separate pieces are sewn together. First the lower part, which consists of the most slices, then the middle part and the upper part, and finally I sew all the parts together.
Every sail is unique. Like hundreds of years ago, the big panels have to be custom made for each ship. Sailmaking is an ancient profession. It developed from the human desire to travel even faster and more elegantly on water.
I wanted to learn some kind of trade, and I always liked sewing, and sailmaking is somewhere in between. That's what I like about it. And most of all, I like the feeling of having accomplished something when I finish my work.
Annetien has chosen a profession which has become rare in Europe. Cheap competitors from the Far East have taken over the market. At her vocational college, the last of its kind in Germany, the classes are smaller every year.
In my class, there are only 25 sailmakers. There are always around 20 or 30, but from the entire country. We're all together in one school and in one class. And the students come from everywhere, even from Bavaria.
Annetien's factory had some trouble finding a trainee at all, and was happy when she started here. The year before, they couldn't find anyone who was interested. The apprenticeship is not very well paid. Annetien earns about €300 a month. Many don't know the sailmaker's job exists, even though it's a secure job and the market is stable. Mostly regatta sailors have their sails made here for the big competitions.
The numbers are pasted into the sails for the regattas. They're important to distinguish them from one another. It's a form of identification.
Over the last years, the material that is used for the sails has changed a lot. While sails were previously made out of plantal textile and later synthetic fibres, Annetien's factory increasingly uses laminated plastic film. It doesn't absorb water, doesn't tear, and is flexible.
Most sails are custom-made because they are measured according to the boat's size and shape. But there are also one-size sails for yawls and other small boats. The sails must have a certain size, which should not be exceeded if you want to take part in competitions like the World Cup.
With her boss, Annetine Simon delivers a recently manufactured sail. The sail factory service includes attaching the sail and checking it one last time. This part of the job is what Annetine likes the most.
I like to be on the water a lot. I always enjoy it when I can go out sailing, either in the North or the Baltic Sea. Even as a child, I was always happy when I could be on the water. It's so much fun.
Ist einfach total schön. Im Ausland ist man als Segelmacher sehr beliebt, weil man
You're very popular abroad as a sailmaker from Germany, as you have received proper training. So if you're good, you can get a job anywhere on the coast. After finishing my traineeship, I would like to go somewhere abroad for a year. We'll see, maybe New Zealand.
From Stade, we make our way to York. The biggest fruit-growing region in Northern Europe lies just outside Hamburg. This is owed to the Dutch, who turned the barren swamps into fertile land in the 12th century by setting up dikes and gaining land from the swamps. With that, they guaranteed long-lasting prosperity. Along the Elbe marshlands, fruit growing is a tradition. About 250,000 tons of apples are picked here every year. In ancient times, the apple was a symbol of love and fertility. Today, it is the most popular fruit of both Germans and French. Statistically, they each eat 25 kilos of apples per year. Ulrike Schuback manages the farm of her ancestors in the 12th generation. She owns more than 30,000 apple trees and cultivates 45 hectares. Though this seems to be a lot, a smaller plot wouldn't be profitable.
I've been doing this job since 1998. That's the year I took over the business from my parents. I also have horticultural training in fruit growing.
Ulrike was 4 when she sat on a tractor for the first time. She loves to be outside in the fresh air, and ever since she was a child she wanted to become a fruit farmer.
I have such a variety of apples that I could eat different ones every day. And I have only 25 of 3 million kinds in the world.
Her favourite varieties of apples are the traditional Elster and Gloucester, but also newer varieties such as Topaz, Braeburn and Rubenuts are part of her assortment. The trees are specially grown. They're smaller in order to facilitate picking, but still high yielding. Today the Elster is being harvested.
Before the crop is brought in, we have to check the plantation very carefully. Every helper in the harvest needs to have experience with fruit, so that he can judge which apple can be picked and which should be left. The requirements of the retail industry and the consumers have changed significantly over the past 20 years. When I was an apprentice, 1 square centimetre of imperfection was tolerated on the apples. Today we have to reject these apples, because retailers won't accept them.
Apples belong to the rose plant family and originate from the Caucasus. In many cultures, the apple has a symbolic aspect. It was often regarded as a symbol for love, sexuality and fertility. but also as an image for knowledge, power and wealth. Only very late, the apple became an economic good. The first apple plantation in Germany opened about 100 years ago.
Here we have a distinctive growth and high percentage of humus in the ground. You always feel good when something's growing. In other regions, they're not that lucky. The microclimate by the river Elbe gives the apples a very special taste, which other growing regions don't have.
Ulrike Schuback has a shop at her farm, where she sells 10% of her produce. Most of the apples are stored away in winter, because in springtime she can sell them at a higher price at the wholesale market. 8 euro cents instead of 5 apiece. As the saying goes, apples are the best medicine. An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
It's been proved that eating an apple a day does indeed keep the doctor away. Scientists at the Charité, the University Hospital in Berlin, have discovered that there are special antioxidants in the apple peel that can even block the growth of gastrointestinal cancer.
Ulrike eats at least 3 apples a day. Sour ones in the morning and sweet ones in the evening. They help her sleep better.
Apples are thirst-quenching, and at the same time they're very healthy. Keep down your cholesterol level. They stimulate the metabolism and contain a lot of dextrose. They have many benefits.
The last leg of our route takes us to Hamburg. Shrimp fishermen on the river Elbe. The fishermen are heading towards Hamburg to sell their fresh haul on the market there. One of Hamburg's suburbs leaps into view, Blankenese. The borough on the northern side of the Elbe is one of the most beautiful ones in Hamburg. In the old days, retired captains used to live here. On the other bank of the river Elbe, the biggest passenger airplane in the world is built, the Airbus 380. Its component parts are brought down the Elbe by ship. Together with Seattle in the US and Toulouse in France, Hamburg is the most important location for the aircraft industry. 11,000 people work here, among them Kirsten Buch. In the assembly hangar, the bodies of the superplanes are constructed. In this hangar, 5 to 10 airplanes can be built simultaneously.
When you enter the hangar for the first time and stand in front of the plane, you are stunned by the sheer scale of it. But you get used to it, as you get used to everything here. But when the plane is ready, when you see it painted and with all its trimmings on the runway, you realize how gigantic it is.
For 4 years, Kirsten Buch has been working for Airbus. As an aircraft mechanic, she helps to build these gigantic birds.
I live close by, and I always saw the planes in the sky and wondered how it all worked. So after graduating from secondary school, I decided to apply for an apprenticeship here, and it worked out. I'm really proud that I made it here.
The parts for the A380 skin are delivered as segments, which are put together by laser in Hamburg. Step by step, the whole body of the aircraft is constructed out of these separate parts. The overlapping edges have to be strengthened with rivets. For that, Kirsten drills holes into the plain skin, so later clutches can be screwed in from inside. One of the things Kirsten likes most about her job is the precise work with the drill.
We are only 4 women among 100 or 200 men on this side of the hangar. When you start as an apprentice here, you have to get used to it at first, that it's only men here and that the tone is a little rough at times. But that's no problem. They're as bad as women with their gossiping and are just as easily offended. But after a while, everyone got used to the situation and we became part of the team, just like anybody else.
Man geht ganz normal miteinander um.
Together with her French colleague Barkett, Kirsten is responsible for mounting a segment on the inside of the aircraft's body. Barkett completed his apprenticeship at the Airbus headquarters in Toulouse in France and has come to Hamburg for 3 months to work at another plant. To Kirsten, working in a team and the exchange with her colleagues is the most important part of her job. And there's one more thing that motivates her.
To me, the best thing is that I can see what I have achieved. This is my work. I know this part was made by me, and I'm really proud of that.
When Kirsten has finished the body, it will be brought to France for the final assembly. She has already worked on 25 airplanes. They come back to Hamburg as ready-made aircraft. Then the varnish is applied. Some are delivered to the clients here. Some airlines are already using the A380, like Emirates or Air France, for the flights from Paris to New York. 24 of the superplanes have been completed already. Another 200 have been ordered. Plenty of work for Kirsten. If everything works out, she wants to do her master's diploma and become an instructor. Hamburg, a cosmopolitan port with a big lake in the centre, the Alster. The city's landmark is St. Michael's Church, affectionately known as Michel by Hamburg citizens. The church has a tower of 132 metres and is the most significant Protestant Baroque building in Germany. The port of Hamburg, China's gateway to Europe. With its 4 container terminals, Hamburg has the 11th biggest port in the world. The pilot's house in Finkenwerder. Manfred Müller has been going to sea since he was 16 years old. For 7 years, he has been working as a pilot in the port of Hamburg. Every year, he guides 400 ships to their mooring place. In 5 hours, he has to escort the Wähler, the biggest German flag container ship, to the terminal.
We've done this job, advising captains on maneuvers and shipping lanes, so often that we've built up a wealth of experience and training in moving ships of different kinds. So we feel at home on almost any ship, and with this background we can give the captains expert instructions.
Hamburg is one of the most frequented ports in Europe. People work here day and night. In 2009, 71.2 million tons of goods passed through the port. The many port basins make the port confusing and difficult to navigate. The captains coming from all over the world need Manfred Müller and his colleagues. Only the pilots know every corner and every current. Manfred Müller has to board the moving ship with the help of a ladder.
Pilot on the bridge.
We shake hands with the captain and try to gain his trust. We offer our thoughts on the maneuver we're about to undertake and discuss it with him. The captain then usually leaves the navigation of the ship to us pilots, and we enter the port.
Die Beratung dann und dann fahren wir in den Hafen. Langsam zurück, bitte.
The fully loaded Vela has a weight of 130,000 tons and contains a load of 10,000 containers. Even for Manfred Müller, this is a difficult task.
Die Konzentration darf eigentlich während der
I've got to concentrate really hard the whole time I'm on board because there are so many potential complications. Like, for example, turning a ship from the main river into a basin where the current sets in, or turning a ship in a basin, or guiding it to a pier.
In Hamburg, taking a pilot on board is mandatory for ships that are longer than 90 meters. Manfred Müller needs a strong sense of intuition to bring the 350-meter ship safely to the mooring place.
Michel, stopp, so liegen bleiben. Michel, stopp. Position. Stopp, die 10. Man macht sich nicht in jeder Sekunde.
You don't spend every second thinking about the millions a ship is worth, or all the things that could go wrong. That would distract me too much from my work.
Dann würde man sich zu sehr ablenken bei der Arbeit.
The good thing is that a pilot is more or less free of these thoughts, so he can concentrate completely on his work.
And the rest is simple routine for Manfred Müller. He knows exactly what to do to maneuver the ship to the final position.
Stopp, die 10.
The captain closely follows his every command.
Stopp den Bug, bitte. Ja, so halten wir ihn fest in so einer Position. Ja, wir sind gelandet.
Another job done.
If you ask a captain what he likes most about his job, he'll say the maneuvers. It's what he may have dreamed of as a boy, steering a ship. We do that every day. And when everything's gone well and the captain thanks you, then the pleasure's twice as great.
Just before sunrise, Manfred Müller's shift is over. The Vela's cargo can now be unloaded. 6 hours later, on the other side, the harbour city, a completely new quarter of Hamburg. 150 hectares right by the waterfront. And next door, the largest timber pile founded warehouse district in the world. The Elbe Philharmonic Hall, Hamburg's new landmark. The concert hall, built on an old warehouse, shall one day be a match for Sydney's famous opera house. In Hamburg, our journey along Germany's coasts ends for today.